Hi, Virginia. So wonderful to have you on the show.
Thanks, Danny. It's good to see you too. It's been a while.
So you've been on my radar for years because I know that you're so much of what you teach is around partnerships and referrals, and I really want to know how did you start? How did you start in the business that you're in? Were you always an entrepreneur?
I've kind of been entrepreneurial ever since I was little. So, when Girl Scout cookies came down, I was like, I'm going to sell the most cookies. And when I was in high school and we were selling beach towels to raise money for the chorus trip, I wanted to be the number one beach towel salesperson. So I've always been kind of competitive. For a very long time in my life, I was extremely prize motivated. So when I joined Mary Kay, it was all about the bumblebees and the prizes and the waving and the tiaras and the diamonds, and because I chased recognition a lot. And so entrepreneurship is just one, it's interesting because it's not exactly a place where you get a lot of recognition necessarily when you're solo. So but that's always been kind of a thing. I'm just kind of competitive against myself and others. And I like selling. I really like selling. So that is in and of itself an entrepreneurial endeavor most of the time. Like no self-respecting salesperson really wants a salary.
No. And so what happened after high school?
I went to college, got a degree, went into teaching, taught at an all boys boarding academy for 5 years. Moved to the Midwest in the U.S. and did my PhD work. And I realized I just wasn't cut out for that sort of day to day grind. And I started doing the math and I was like, man, if I stay on this career that I don't really love, I'm going to really jack up my family in a lot of ways. And so that's when I joined Mary Kay and started selling, lipstick with, I'm a PhD with selling lipstick. My dad would have liked to poked himself in the eye with a hot poker. He was just so mad. And I was like, I'm staying home with my kids. I'm raising my kids and I'm doing something that's fun for me. Um, and it's interesting when you talk about partnerships. By that point, I still wasn't a partnered person. I didn't understand the power of partnerships. It was, I'm going to sell the lipstick, I'm going to do the thing. And then when I became a team builder, I wasn't really partnered either. I became sort of managerial, like, you need to sell more lipsticks. You need to sell more. You need to book more parties, right? So I was very bossy and kind of managerial. And, in network marketing, everybody's kind of a volunteer. So if you make them mad, they just quit. They're like, I don't
Yeah.
need this. Right. And so it was really good and it was really fun until it wasn't. And then I got a job at a tutoring franchise. And the guy who hired me had 7 locations, which is, 7 franchise units is a lot of franchise units. I didn't really realize it then, but now that I own 2 franchise units of my own, I realize how 7 would be just impossible. I don't know what I would do. Um, but we broke into a government program called No Child Left Behind.
I remember that.
And that's when I started to really realize that as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, upper middle class, wealthy-ish white woman going down to the urban environment, I wasn't gonna cut it on my own. There was no possible way. And I was being mentored by the gal who owned the Business Network International franchises that I own now. And I said, I don't know what to do. And she said, you really do. You need a power team. So I grabbed that process from, it's a BNI process, and I started creating power teams down in the cities, in the urban environment, where I was looking for partners who were serving the kids in ways that wasn't education. Maybe they were providing food, maybe they were providing after school care, maybe they were providing backpacks or diapers or formula or whatever, healthcare. And so I started creating partnerships with those people because it was absolutely, what do they say, the necessity is the mother of all invention, right? There was no other way to do it but borrow the influence of other people and figure out how I could help them get enough of what they needed to want to reciprocate.
So
um,
can you tell me a little bit more about the model that you learned from BNI?
yeah, I mean, basically power teams are groups of professionals who serve the same kind of client, but no two people serve the client in the same way.
Yeah.
So if you look at, for example, a business to business power team, you might have a business attorney, an accountant, a business banker, a payroll processor, a digital media specialist, a website SEO specialist.
Oh, okay,
You know,
okay. So we often refer to them as power circles. It's the same thing.
right. So yeah, so it really is just that concept. Where it worked a little differently for me was, okay, I looked for all the big churches
Mm,
because churches have a lot of influence
mm,
in the urban environment. So I was like, okay, what are the churches that have? Well, here it's the AME churches.
mm,
So I started going to church on Sunday morning. Hallelujah! I just like hauled my little butt down to and I went to church,
mm.
and I worshiped there. And I found out what the needs were, and I got sleuthy and really kind of, looking into it, and then made friends with the elders. So I really understood, like I could go and observe and see who had the influence.
Mm.
Not always is the pastor the one with the influence. There's a saying in Christianity that the woman is the neck that turns, the man is the head of the household and the woman is the neck that turns the head. So what I was looking for was, who turns the head, right? Who has the pastor's ear? Who's the one that goes to the pastor and says, Pastor, we need to do this, and pastor turns his neck,
Yeah.
right? That's what I was looking for. And I found those people and I befriended those people and got to understand the needs of the church. And it was really the probably the best thing that I learned in that time was that when you are looking to build something, borrowing the influence of others, you
Yeah.
have to know what the others will trade for that influence.
Mm,
And that means a lot of selflessness.
mm.
You can't be thinking about what I want from these people, what I want from these people. You understand the goal, right? Like you went with the goal in
Yeah.
mind. Like I need these people to refer me 50 students.
Yeah.
That's what I think the capacity is for the referral goal.
Mm,
But once I've set that goal, now I'm simply exploring what would they need that would entice them or induce them to want to refer 50 clients to me.
yeah.
And so it really was about that in terms of, joint venture partnerships, referral partnerships, cultivating those kinds of relationships. That I think was really the first instance of partnership that I built in the Sylvan space, which was the tutorial space. The next place where it came up was that I was used to being solo, Danny. Like, if it is to be, it's up to me. And I was out there well, at some point it gets unwieldy. Like we had at one point like 112 schools enrolled. And I had to check on 112 schools. Well, I can't check on 112 schools when the travel radius was 7 hours end to end. So the territory was 7 hours driving end to end. Like I can't do that. Now I need to build a team. But the
Yeah.
thing about the team is they're part-time. They're not full-time people. They have jobs. So again, what could we do outside money, because the money is finite? What
Yeah.
can we do outside of just the paycheck that makes them want to work for us instead of working for the competitors? Because we were all competing for the same teacher pool to run these programs for us. So
Yeah.
then it was, how do I partner with these teachers so they prefer us over anybody else? And it never boiled down to money. It always boiled down to recognition, appreciation, status, gratitude. And so there was that level of partnership. And then at the highest level of partnership, when I started having to hire people, because I needed managers now. Now I actually need people that can run the people who are running the people. I needed these layers. And go figure, it's super interesting. When I left, I turned my job over to a woman named Judy, and my boss was just devastated. He was like, "You were my exit plan." And I said, "Well, when somebody's your exit plan, you should have that conversation before they buy another business and decide to quit." So lesson one. you know um, but when he wanted to exit, he called me and he said, "You know what, I'm not going to say you leaving was the best thing ever, but every one of my centers was purchased by someone you put in place.
Wow, what a result.
That they loved it. They Virginia, they knew how to work it. They knew what they needed to do. They were, when they were working for me, they were proactive in reporting me. They made my life easier, which was the next highest level of partnership. Was I partnered with the owner to make sure that the owner had an easier life, and then he made my life easier in
Yeah.
turn, right? And so there's all these levels of partnership and relationship that came out of that engagement, including up to and including the very system that I teach now, which is the system that I use to build that educate external contract services division from $0 when I started with the company to $2.5 million in annual revenue the year that I left.
That is quite a result.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did you transition from from a sales environment, which is very, very not team, often not team player at all, and how did you transition? How easy did you find it to transition from a kind of that kind of sales environment of being in it for yourself and
Mm-hmm.
moving to a collaborative?
So I had some ladies that were working for me
Mm.
that I inherited. So when I came in, they were already there.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I was just like doing my thing, selling my thing, but they had to do all the operational fulfillment.
Mm.
And so I would sell, 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 and I would make their jobs miserable and impossible. They couldn't do the job. Like I would oversell their time. I wasn't paying attention to their needs. And so one day they got what here we call it the blue flu. It's like they just decided not to go to work on a day when it was going to be tragic. They're
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing that. So I'm there by myself. They all call in sick, and I have to run their entire job by myself. Yeah, by the end of Saturday, I was pretty clear on what it means to lead a team and not be a boss.
Yeah.
I felt that in my bones. And Monday morning, I called a team meeting and they were like, "Are we fired?" And I said, "Absolutely not. I'm here to ask for forgiveness for my ignorance and my naivete. I had no idea. I didn't understand really what you guys were saying. And I couldn't even imagine that it could be like, how could it be that hard?" But yeah, I see it. So I said, but I still need to be able to do what I need to do to make the center money, blah, blah, blah. So we need to have a conversation. And that's when we really started partnering as a team to figure out how we were as a team going to hit the goals. And what needed to happen and how we could make that happen. And once they really understood that, they started being willing to sacrifice. And the other thing that happened that was it bought a lot of loyalty. So you just have to think about, how do I get loyalty, right? Well, my boss decided that he hadn't had a good enough year to give out bonuses. And for me, that was fine because I'm a commissioned salesperson. So if I need money, I go sell something. And I had my Mary Kay still in my back pocket. So if I needed an extra $100, I just go sell a couple skincare systems and move along, doggy, right? Not a problem. But they were really counting on those bonuses for their Christmas. And I paid them their bonuses out of my paycheck that month.
Wow. Wow.
I
So
said, "Hey, Brian's not able to give you a bonus, but here, this is for you." And I paid them both their bonuses out of my own paycheck. And that it strapped me, to
mm,
be really fair. Like it really strapped me. But my Christmas went on a credit card, and then I just paid it off a little bit at a time. But I knew that I could, because all I have to do is go sell more. They were employees, and they had no way to make more money. They had no commission, no nothing. That bonus was their big deal
yeah.
the year. So really transitioning, I had a little help from some friends. Let's just
How do
and
you
that Christmas I paid them for it. So
altogether, I think people struggle to adopt that kind of collaborative mindset. You alluded to it earlier. You talked about you need to give people value in advance when you are
mhm.
creating this power
Yeah.
power circle. How do you, can you just describe how do you a lot of people can't transition. Like a lot of people do what they think are partnerships, but it's very much I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. How
Mm-hmm.
do you can you just describe how do you make it work? Because some people think I'm being taken for a ride when I give value in advance, right? I'm giving. In fact, people have said to me, I don't want to do joint ventures because I feel I'm doing all the giving and I'm not getting anything back. So how do you make it work so you are actually you're giving, but it's
Mhm.
it's coming back to you.
First of all, you have to have a filter. The reality is, Danny, that you can't make someone who's transactional relational.
No.
So, for example, I mean, I have ended a couple of partnerships because they had a JV manager, which this is like, to me, this is a huge mistake. Okay. Number one, if you're going to have your JV, if you're going to do this kind of a call, your JV manager better understand how to handle the call. So I would get calls from JV managers and they'd say, hey, we're not going to be able to promote you this year because you only turned in 40 clicks. But if you can get that to 400 clicks, we could include you in our newsletter.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I don't run like that.
Yeah.
I don't run like that. What I do, I said, and your promotion didn't do any better for me either, but
We've
I'm not
seen that.
calling
We
you with
we
that.
we we've seen that where people have said that, we can't help you because you didn't do enough, but actually their whole launch did not do that well anyway.
Well,
They're
yeah,
kind of
because
penalizing you.
and here's the really weird thing. I can't drive clicks. I can't drive clicks to crappy copy, crappy
Yeah.
swipe copy. I can't guarantee you that my audience cares, but we have to try it out. So for me, what it boils down to is number one, you have to have a filter, and maybe sometimes you don't know that people are transactional until you feel that way, and then I just agree to love on them and be nice to them, but I'm not going to actually use my assets for that. Um, there's a really great book written by Dr. Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, called Infinite Giving.
Yeah.
And I believe that partnerships are best forged through honest conversation. So I use a 5-step conversation process
Yeah.
to filter it out. So first I look at and I say, okay, made your acquaintance. Do I like your vibe? That's my first filter. You have a good vibe. Second filter is I have a conversation with you about, what you're up to in the world. Why are you in business for yourself? How are you growing yourself? What is your contribution in the world? I mean, if you can't tell me what you're out there experiencing, how you're growing yourself spiritually, professionally, I don't care what what your growth focus is, but if you can't tell me what that is, and you have no intention of contributing anything meaningful in the world, then we're probably not aligned. And I'm going to stop that conversation there. I'm going to want to know what your goals are, what your vision is. I'm going to want to know what your fears, frustrations, concerns, challenges are. I want to know what your hopes and dreams are. I want to know what kind of support you're looking for and what you want in a partner. And I'm going to have all of those conversations. And if I think I'm a good match, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to offer to do a thing for you. And that's the next conversation, which is the promotional conversation, which is, Danny, why don't we do a test run of something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have you on my podcast, I'll be on your podcast, and then we can decide if we want to do something more. And
Yeah.
then if we want to do something more, well, then what do you need right now? Well, I need this right now. What do you need right now? I need this right now. Okay, we've agreed. By when are we going to do it? By this date. We both deliver, we move forward. If we don't deliver, we don't move forward from there. So the idea of giving in hopes that you're going to tip somebody over the scale, at least in the joint venture business, that it's really much better to have just an open, honest conversation. Like, what do you need? Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to help you. But when you say I'd be happy to help you, and this is, for me, this was the number one takeaway from Infinite Giving: give from your saucer, not from your cup. Which means if I decide that I'm going to help you early on, I'm not going to sacrifice something that's important to myself that I'm going to resent you for if you don't reciprocate.
Yeah. That's very
So
sensible.
I'm going to give from a place like, yeah, sure, you can have that. I don't care. I got lots of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think that is the
You're helping them. You're helping them, but in a way that you're not having to strain. You're not having to strain you're having to strain yourself to do that. It's maybe
right.
something you've already got. You can give them. It's helpful for them. Um, that's very good advice, and I think what you said is true about ascertaining whether someone's a good partnership. There's incremental steps you can take you can do a test campaign together, but there's also you get a vibe with people, and you can
Yeah.
see a conversation with some people. They are very transactional in the way they look at things, and
Mhm.
that may not be the right path for you. So let's fast forward a bit. So how did you move from charter schools to what you're doing now?
How did I move from doing that? It's really interesting. Well, I
Sorry,
had
not
this
charter schools. Sorry, from No Child Left Behind
the
to
No Child Left Behind, which I it's fine because I held them all at charter schools for the most part. Um, so it was really interesting. The gal that owned the BNI franchises, unlike my first franchise owner boss, was they were looking for their exit. They were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to exit this? They had 5 franchise units, big territory, and they were just trying to figure out like what are we going to do? How are we going to exit this? And she came to me and said, could you teach our members how to go from 0 to 2.5 million in 5 years? Like, could you teach people how to do that? And I said, oh, yeah, I could. And she said, okay, can we go into business? Can we create a business? And I said, well, we could, but you would need to pay me $150,000 for the first year because I would have to write the entire curriculum. And I'm the primary breadwinner. So I can't just quit this job and do that full time. So you would need to seed me with a commitment of about, $12,500 a month, which is what I was more or less making, so that I could work the time. She's like, well, that ain't going to happen because we don't have that. We can't do that. That's not a bet that we're willing to take. And I said, well, then it's not going to work. And then she came back and said, hey, um, Dr. Meisner has this other franchise called the Referral Institute, and it's $50,000 to get started. And if if you put in 30%, we'll put in 70%, and then we'll be partners. And we wrote a partnership agreement, and I did that for 5 years. And what was really funny, Danny, was her husband wrote me the check, and he wrote the check and he kissed the check and he goes, bye-bye, money. We will never meet again. And handed me the check. And in that 5 years, I returned to them over $300,000 in their share.
Oh my goodness. What
In
a
their
story.
share. And he was like, dang, that was the best bet I ever like. He was convinced that I couldn't do it. And I was like, the thing is that I know what I'm doing. The weird thing was that the franchise didn't really know what they were doing. So I outperformed everybody in the franchise. And they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, the the stuff that's in the curriculum, you guys just don't do it very well. And so I actually revamped a lot of what was going on, but they then BNI transitioned to some other owners, and the intellectual property from that franchise went to the new buyers of the BNI Global.
Mm.
And so that training franchise rebranded, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And we had just bought the BNI franchise. So it's like, I'll invest 2 years in this, right? I'll take all of my energy and I'll invest it in growing the franchise and training and helping the members. And then in 2017, I opened up Master Connectors and created my own signature stuff that was based on my experience at the tutoring franchise, what I'd learned in BNI, what I'd learned in Mary Kay, and then what I had learned um, in the educational franchise, um, the business education franchise that I had
And
run for five
you
years.
basically in your business you teach really all about the whole referral process, right?
Yeah. So it's really comprehensive because what most people miss out on, and this is sort of the cart before the horse thing on partnerships. Okay. Um, if you don't have marketing that works, if you don't have a sales process that works, if you don't have an offer that converts, then partnerships are pointless. And a
Yeah.
lot of people start getting into this partnership game without a proven process, without a proven offer, without proven copy, without proven marketing. And so that's one of the things that keeps coaches and consultants and business experts poor, because
Mm.
they don't want to do that work, but so they just want partners to bring them clients. But if you can't teach your partner what is a client, how do I talk to a client, and how do I get the client to say yes to an appointment? If I can't teach you those 3 things, then your partners won't be successful. And once you have enough partners that can't be successful, you tarnish your partnership reputation.
Yeah.
So when people come into my orbit, if you will, we do 5 things. The first thing is we get that offer and that marketing and those betas, even if they've been in business for 10 years, unless they have an offer that's like super converting, we don't do partnerships until they can prove to me that they can do, you know, $10,000-15,000 a month with that offer. So if they've never had a $10,000 month, we're not doing anything until we're not getting partners until they can do that.
Yeah.
And then we can look for partners to promote, and we can create the tools. So the next thing we do, we have to create the tools. We have to create the swipe copy. We need to create the lead magnets. We need to create the scripts. We need to create the emails. We need to create the partner toolkit that the partners can use, and create a training process, which is the referral incubator process that you and I are engaged in, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I see that the whole time with the people who come to me who want they're interested in partnerships, but the offer is not fully formed. There is no mechanism to get people on their email list. They don't have an affiliate system in place. They don't have a one sheet for even telling partners what they're doing. They don't have an audience. They haven't even started building an audience yet. So,
mhm,
and I have to, I send them on I have a course called Get JV Ready in Just 5 Days, which tells them what they need to do.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that to me that is the thing I come across a lot. In fact, clients who've come on board and I've not been able to help them because they're not JV ready. They
Yeah.
just don't have it'll be things like, well, we can't email for anyone because we have issues with our email list, or
Mhm.
um, we're still figuring out how to get our offer right. And yeah, you've got to get all those things in place because
All
in
that
good,
has to happen first.
sorry, yeah,
All that
yeah,
has to happen first.
yeah,
And
absolutely. Because
when I,
in good faith, how can you're selling somebody, someone else is selling you to their audience. And in good faith, how
mhm.
can they do that if those things are not in place? You're
Well, and it's crazy because partnerships are the first form of automation,
Yeah.
right? And so for me, from my perspective, if you're making $3,000-4,000 a month and you're doing maybe one-on-one coaching and you're looking to move to group coaching, like you're in that and you want some partners for that,
Mm,
well, that's super cool. You need a Google workspace,
yeah.
right? You can create a like a Google group list. You can work it all in Google for like $17 a month. And it was like, no, I bought Go High Level and whatever. I'm like, all you're gonna do is distract yourself with ridiculousness because you have 100 people. You can create 100 people email list in your Google account,
Yeah.
and you can create a form in your Google account that people fill out and it will notify you. You can set up a notification and you can set up an autoresponder
Mm,
in there that says, "Hey, Danny, thanks so much. Click here and download your thing," right? Like, and it'll take them to your Google Drive and they can download your lead magnet or whatever from a Google workspace.
yeah.
And so, people need to, and then when you get that and it's like really, really working, automating it, moving it when it's working to Go High Level, or like Keep is not my favorite one, but Kartra, Active Campaign, wherever you're going to move it, right?
Right.
Moving it there is easy because you're like, okay, I have the cadence. I understand how all this works. And now I can automate it because it works. Well, partnerships are the gap
Yeah.
between the Google workspace, trying to keep track of things in Google, and a big autoresponder, and then starting to scale and grow and scale a business. And I think that that's just really, really key, not to put the cart before the horse, because once you get an offer that converts, and once you have amassed your own resources and assets,
Mm,
things that you can share,
yeah.
discoveries, ideas, knowledge, sometimes sweat equity,
Mm,
right? So when I want to partner with somebody who's just a little bigger and um a little more impressive,
yeah.
then I'm going to sweat equity. I'm going to be like, I'll coach, I'll work your coaching zone
Mm,
for free, right? So I'll go and you don't have to pay me for the coaching zone. I'll just go and sell for you. Or oh, hey, you're going to have an event. I'll come work your event team.
yeah.
I'll come be on your event team. So you can start to create those higher partnerships by simply putting in a little sweat equity. And it's just like what I did with the churches.
Yeah.
That's how I got the churches. I said, you're big. You have a lot of influence with people I want to have some influence with. What can I do for you? One church I painted. I went on a work day and I painted a classroom
Yeah.
in the church, right? I volunteered my
Yeah,
time
I
because that's what
love
I
that. I
had.
love that phrase, sweat equity, because it's so true. I have worked with a wonderful guy called Tad Hargrave, who runs a
Mm,
business called Marketing for Hippies.
hmm.
And he goes over and above, like he will say, I want to interview you before your launch. Maybe I can speak to a couple of people who've been on your program. He just does those extra things that make his audience feel like he's a stakeholder, that he's like he's actually bought into the whole thing. And it's
Right.
not just a case of, well, I've got some room on my list on the 14th of January. I'll fire out a couple of emails for you.
Which, don't get me wrong, like for me, that's cool. But a lot of people think that that's the highest level of partnership. To me, that's super entry level.
Hmm.
I'll email for you and you email for me. That's test piloting.
Yeah,
That's testing out the relationship
yeah,
and decide, like,
exactly.
if Danny says he's going to email for me on the 18th, does he actually email for me on the 18th? Like, did he
Yeah,
actually do it? And by the way, for me, that is a test use case for whether or not I'm going to introduce you to potential partners. Because
yeah,
if you tell me you're going to email for me and you don't email for me, you don't get any partners from me. Because
yeah.
I'm not going to tell them you're going to email for them and then you don't do it because you'll make me look bad. And
Right.
every time I make a referral, that's a little piece of my reputation on the line.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And people don't realize that. And so, they're like, I just need more partners. I need more partners. Well, I don't have any demonstrated follow through from you. So
Yeah,
until I have that, I can't
yeah,
do those.
yeah, yeah. Correct, correct. So, um, I've got just a final question to ask you.
Yeah.
I want to, I'd love sort of your story of how you transitioned from sales into a more collaborative environment and everything you're doing with Master Connectors. Um, to our listeners who are like, listening to this, thinking, partnership sounds great. What would be your one piece of advice to give them before going on this route? And bearing in mind, not I agree with you. Not everyone is cut out for partnerships because some people cannot get their head around giving value in advance. So. What would be your
There's
advice?
something I don't know. I know where I heard about this, but I don't know who actually created it. It's called an inventory of relational assets, an IRA.
Yeah,
And so I think what's really important is that you just look in your world and decide what do you have that you'd be willing to give away. So
yeah,
like I have something right now, it's the dumbest thing. I bought a case of colored pencils for a workshop and I still have like 50 boxes of colored pencils, right? So
right.
imagine that I said I have in my inventory of relational assets 50 boxes of colored pencils. Somebody who's doing some sort of a school like a school supply drive for their church or whatever could turn around and say like, I'll take those pencils and what do you need? And I could be like, oh, I need this. So I keep a list of what do I have that's excessive to me that I could give or lend or whatever to people willingly, and what do I need?
Yeah,
What do I need? And so when people say, how can I help you? If we're not ready to say, oh, what I'd really love is, I really need I don't know, somebody to scratch my back. If I can't ask for it, then I'm not going to get.
mm,
But I also think that giving ad nauseum without a plan and without a purpose and without a notion of what the expectation is on the back end, that is the big mistake.
yeah,
In collaborations, collaboration means I find out what you need, I tell you what I need, and we agree to meet each other's needs.
yeah,
And as we do that over time, we build trust. And the
yeah,
more trust we build, so after we've collaborated enough times, and I know Danny, I know I can depend on Danny, and Danny knows he can depend on me, then we don't need immediate the space between the reciprocity can lengthen.
yeah, yeah. I want to just to add to what you've said, and I think this is really important. I think you made a really good point today, which is that you can be very generous, but that's not going to help you if your offer and everything else is not fine-tuned properly. And
Yeah.
I would just say this with reference to BNI, in that you can be a very generous member of a chapter, but if your offer is not very good, people aren't going to refer you. You're not
Yeah.
referable.
If people don't know how to refer you and you don't have the basics of that, then you're not going to make it. Like one of the most fundamental things, anybody who. I'm like, I don't have anybody who in my phone. I can't search anybody who on Sales Navigator. I can't even search anybody who in the yellow pages.
Mhm.
But if you tell me toaster repairman, well, I can go look for that because I know what a toaster repairman looks like. I don't know what an anybody who looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So even something as simple as that, of getting your marketing specific, getting your requests specific, is really key in partnerships. And it's not just about the marketing, right, Danny? It's like, specifically, what do you need me to do for you? Virginia, I need you to email on these 3 days. Here's the email. This is what it needs, right? Like, you tell me specifically what you need. And the
Uh,
more
yeah, right,
specifically I know
exactly.
what
It's
you
like
need, the
saying
more I
like
can do it.
it's like when I'm asked someone, how can I help you? That's not necessarily a very good question. A better question might be like not who can I introduce you to, but who would be your ideal introduction? Like who would what introduction would really be a game changer for you?
That, like, who have you been trying to meet that would be a game changer for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
that's specific. People are very bad at being specific, which is why they
yeah,
can't get referrals.
Yep. And understanding, like, what are you doing right now? You asked me, I remember you asked me the last time we talked, you're like, what can I do for you? And I go, Danny, absolutely nothing right now because I'm revamping. And the
Yeah.
first thing I said to you when we got into the green room today, I was like, Danny, I revamped. I'm ready. Right. Like, remember when you
Fantastic.
asked me, what can you do for me? Well, guess what? I got it now. But
Uh,
that's because we have enough relationship that the space can
can
happen.
expand. Right.
It doesn't need to be, I'll do this and you do this, I'll do this and you do this,
Yeah.
because we know how to deliver for each other. And at least in my case, you're very good at always being on top of it. I am a little bit of a ditz, and you also know that you can be like, hey, Virginia, you said you were going to do this thing, did you get that done? Because I didn't hear from you. And I'm like, oh, and then I hop to it, right? But it's all in the relationship that
Mhm.
you build with people, and that is at the heart of all partnership, in my mind.
That's such a wonderful place to end. Can I ask you, so for our listeners, do you where can they go to share more about you? Where can they go to get more help?
So there's a couple of things. I love connecting on LinkedIn. I have a big goal. I'd like to get 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. So if you will follow me on LinkedIn, that would be great. Connect with me.
Amazing. And we'll share you in the show, your LinkedIn profile in the show notes.
Yeah. And then I also have a really cool downloadable called the Business by Referral Blueprint. And if you grab that blueprint, it walks you through the 6 stages to creating amazing partnerships, and how to create referral partners.
That's
So that would be
fantastic.
another one. And so
Okay.
we can drop the link in the show notes for that.
Okay. That'd be wonderful. Really look forward to sharing that with our audience. Virginia, thank you so much for coming as a guest today. I've really loved discussing all this with you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Danny. It's good to catch up with you.